Today's episode is brought to you by Expressvpn. Expressvpn is an awesome service that helps protect you while surfing the web. Whether it be on your phone, your tablet, or your computer, Expressvpn has got your back. Using Expressvpn will also help mask your public IP addresses, as well as keep your browsing data out of reach from ISPs, cellular providers, ad companies, and hackers. Being a content creator, I really value my privacy, and I use Expressvpn all the time. For instance, I travel all around the world to go to conventions every year. And when I'm not in my office, I still have to work, and I have to be careful about what information I'm sending and receiving over public networks. Expressvpn helps me stay anonymous and safe when dealing with purchases and sensitive business information by hiding my IP addresses and encrypting my information. And if you're someone from another country who can't access streaming content from other countries, Expressvpn is a service for you. It's fast, it's easy to use, and it's less than $7 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, if you guys want to support the show today while protecting yourself and your privacy on the internet, head over to expressvpn.com/complete. Again, that's expressvpn.com/complete. Signing up today will get you 3 months free when you purchase a full year package. Thank you to ExpressVPN and enjoy the show. Scary games and streaming go together like peanut butter and jelly. Audiences get to watch their favorite people get spooked. Streamers get views. It's a perfect combo. And every now and then, a game comes along that takes the internet by storm. And a few years ago, that game was, and still is, Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's has a lot going on for it. It's a minimalistic horror game that makes a lot of unique choices to ratchet up the tension. Yes, it can be repetitive and relies on a lot of jump scares, but overall, it's a pretty alright game to play for Halloween times. But it's been years since I played the original, and given my past with the franchise, I am not looking forward to this game. We'll see how I feel when I recomplete Five Nights at Freddy's. Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the Completionist New Game Plus, a show in which I am recompleting games I've already done from the first 120 game lineup. More on that in the description down below. Guys, happy Halloween. Fun fact, Five Nights at Freddy's, when I first released it, came out on Halloween, so I guess it's kind of poetic that I re-released the newer version once again on Halloween. Yay! So today, as you're all sitting at home, not trick-or-treating, sitting at home, playing video games, sitting at home, making a grilled cheese sandwich, don't you worry, my friends, because for you, I went back to the future. Five Nights at Freddy's, here we go. Five Nights at Freddy's was a phenomenon when it first came out. It was a legitimate hit that spawned way too many sequels and spin-offs. I wanted to go back to the source to see if my opinion on this series has changed since I first started playing it. Believe it or not, completing an entire series of something just might burn you out. While it feels like the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has been around forever, it's actually only been about 4 years since the very first one came out. Five Nights creator Scott Cawthon was inspired by the nightmare-fueled robots from Chuck E. Cheese and other kid casinos to make a truly creepy game. It probably also didn't hurt that some people thought that in one of his older games, the characters moved like animatronics, making them seem weirdly scary. So for his follow-up game, he fully embraced it. I made a point to play the game right at its initial boom in popularity to see if there was interest from you guys. And at the time, I really liked what was here in the game. But now that I really think about it, especially especially after I've submitted myself to completing so many of these games. I really think the buzz around the game was what sold itself more than my actual interest. Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game with first-person perspective gameplay. However, the player is confined to just one room, an office full of surveillance equipment. The goal is to survive for 5 nights in a row as hostile AI try to sneak into the office and kill the player. To do this, they must constantly be on the lookout for enemies, using the cameras in the office while closing doors and managing the power in the building. FNAF and its 249 sequels aren't terribly difficult to beat if you're just trying to get through the main game. Fully completing them, though, can be extremely difficult considering the community around Five Nights at Freddy's single-handedly shaped what completing the game was. Thanks to Markiplier and the dozens of Five Nights at Freddy's YouTubers out there, the lore was single-handedly attached to the extreme stress of completing these games. What was once a fun challenge for the most intense gamers turned into nightmare fuel for completionists all over the world, ultimately leading to the recent release of Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night Mode. Now let me be clear, I am not knocking indie game creators for setting difficult challenges. I, in fact, live for it. I just think the fandom of the franchise kind of shaped what it meant to complete these games. So much so that one of the big reasons why people watch other people talk about FNAF is because you don't have to play it to understand it, removing the stress from the jump scares and turning up the interest on the lore. I actually really liked FNAF the first time I played it for the show. I appreciated the game's approach to storytelling and enjoyed the feeling of isolation and mounting pressure that builds upon each night. The aesthetics of the game didn't amaze me overall, considering that the main freaking thing you look at is a GIF that's bending around in a circle, but I loved the cohesive experience I felt. You can definitely tell that this game is a personal passion project for the creator. In my first video, I said that I thought it was worth going all the way through because of what it brought to the genre and the unique mechanics that it employed. Completing it was a chore that became a nightmare, but I really did enjoy the first game in the series. Admittedly, I also was a bit of a jerk when it came to making the first few FNAF videos. I had too much fun scaring the audience that watched the videos by using the game's assets as a means of scaring the viewer. I learned pretty quickly that I upset a lot of people with my own surprise set of jump scares. So to the fans that were there back in the day, I have changed. I am really sorry, truly. No, really, there aren't any jump scares, I swear. So let's see if I still have that magic touch to complete this game again, because doing so originally was an absolutely nerve-shredding experience. First up, I'll have to make it through the first 5 nights alive, which is the game's equivalent of getting to the final boss, only to have the curtain pulled back and yet another mode revealed. It's like your princess is in another castle, only horrifying. After I make it through the first 5 nights, I'll have to move on to the 6th night with even more difficult gameplay. To be fair, 6 Nights at Freddy's doesn't sound nearly as good as 5 Nights at Freddy's, so I get it. Gotta keep that alliteration, y'all. Next up, I'll have to conquer the hardest mode FNAF has to offer. If you make it through the first night and the 6th night, you'll notice 2 stars on the starting menu. We need to get that 3rd secret star, so we'll have to make it through the most difficult thing the game has to offer, Custom Night Mode, specifically 20-20-20-20 mode. In this mode, the AI can be custom tuned to a ridiculously high difficulty, and the random number generator is out to screw you. Since I've completed this game before, I know how the AI generally behaves and how to defend myself from the animatronics, but 20-20-20-20 mode practically destroyed me the first time through. I'm hoping that a few years of distance and having done it once before will help me make it through this nightmarish difficulty mode once again, so I can get that final star and put this game back on its digital shelf and never have to look at it ever again. Sorry, did that come off as aggressive? I mean, do I sound nervous about completing this game again? Am I afraid of having another panic attack in the name of some Steam achievements? Of course not. Why would I be? Wait, there's no achievements in the original game, right? Scott did not go back and add achievements, did he? Did he? Check it. Check it. Oh, thank God. Five Nights at Freddy's really was the beginning of a whole new genre of game, what I like to call the stress management simulator. The first time I completed it, I was surprised by how effectively the game created a feeling of dread and tension, even though the presentation is pretty freaking simple. Going through it again, I'm reminded that a strong premise with good execution can be even better than $1 million budget. The player takes control of a night watchman type character, charged with keeping an eye on the big spooky animatronics in a local restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The premise is delightfully absurd because the animatronics lock up and break if they're turned off for too long, so the management of the joint has decided to leave them on all the time. Therefore, the animatronics roam the building at night, leading to accidents and poop in your pants jump scares. The old night shift worker leaves the player voicemails.
Might be a good idea to peek at those cameras while I talk, just to make sure everyone's in their proper place, you know. Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. I've heard he becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right?
And it's up to the player to learn for themselves what happened to the restaurant and to eat all the pizza they can before being eaten by a robot chicken. Alright, so I lied about the pizza eating robot chicken thing. I'm just trying to give myself a little levity here because this game is stressful as all hell. Our enemies in this game have become an iconic crew of happy animals gone smelly murderers that have so much merch, it's bizarre. We have Freddy the bear, Bonnie the bunny or rabbit in some cases, Chica the chicken, Foxy the pirate fox, and the secret scary golden Fredbear. I hope you learn to like these guys a lot because this crew is the game. The general gist of how these animatronics work is that you've got Bonnie on the left side of the area and Chica on the right. Depending on the night or the crazy setting, you'll have to keep an eye on these two a fair amount. Your goal is to prevent all of the animatronics from entering the office, obviously, but it's important to know that those doors can't hold more than one animatronic in them at a time. So if someone is saying hello, you don't have to worry about another animatronic in that same doorway. On the other side, however, it's rough. Foxy is one of the more annoying animatronics because if you check the code where Foxy is and their door is wide open, chances are Foxy is sprinting at that very moment down the hallway to grab you, and you've got to put your monitor down and close the door right away. Doing so will protect you from getting bopped from Foxy, but your battery meter will take a huge hit. At the end of the day, power management is huge, and it gets worse eventually when Freddy shows up. It just adds another management wrench to your already complicated system. Even though the premise is just an excuse to set killer robots on the loose, there's a creepy mystery at the heart of everything, with details teased out over the course of the game in newspaper clippings and voicemails with allusions to murdered children possessing and haunting the various animatronics. The game doesn't really spend much time explaining why things are happening, which is probably good because it's already unsettling enough to having decaying animal robots trying to jump out of the shadows and eat your flesh. I still think the premise works well, though the dozens and dozens of animatronics and their variants within the game's 318 sequels have been exhausted pretty hard, especially with the massive amount of YouTubers contributing to this lore bait. And honestly, I was a part of that problem. After Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, I vowed to walk away from the franchise altogether, but in comes New Game Plus, dragging me back to the restaurant I've loathed all these years. Who knows, maybe the recently greenlit movie tie-in will add some more depth to everything. Everyone knows that a movie adaptation is just the thing to juice up a long-running video game franchise. So there are horrible knockoff Chuck E. Cheese monsters trying to kill the player. How do you defend yourself? Set up traps to stop the animatronics? Big hunkin' shotgun to blast them to pieces? Invest in some zip ties to tie the enemies to the radiator? Well, you don't have any of that, but what you do have is the awesome power of a CCTV and doors that can only stay closed for short periods of time before draining the entire building's power. Man, this character must have been really desperate for this job. Thanks, Obama. Does that still count? No? I thought it was good. Basically, the animatronics can only move towards the office that you're sitting in when you aren't looking directly at them. Seems like the answer would be to just keep the camera trained on them at all times. But that drains the power, and when the power goes out, bad things happen. You have to alternate between closely watching the creepy menaces and deliberately not watching them to save energy. Your office has two doors, one on each side of the screens. But for the doors to stay locked and secure, it costs energy. So, watching for the enemies on the cameras? Energy. Flick the lights on in the hallway? energy. Running out of electrical power is pretty much a death sentence and an invitation to be jump scared. Because this game is pretty much a point and click game, there isn't really much to say about level design or interesting puzzles to solve or incredibly detailed animation. The game essentially does one thing, and it does it extremely well: create tension. I initially praised this game for its focus for sticking to its central idea. I thought it was great that the game kept itself constrained because that made the player feel limited and powerless. Now, I find it all incredibly anxiety-producing and stressful. Look, I'm just trying to make it through the day with as few screams as possible, and this game really does not help with that. Now, the sound design is actually very solid when it comes to FNAF. The game essentially primes you to be jump scared by forcing you to pay attention to the littlest things at all times. Cruel, yet effective. The animations aren't amazing, especially when you realize they're just GIFs, but they can get the job done, and that job is jump scaring the crap out of you. Each animatronic has a personality, like how Chica enjoys long walks on the beach and Bonnie just loves chocolate. Ah, great, now I'm just imagining The Bachelor but with Five Nights at Freddy's characters. Ugh. By personality, I mean how the AI closes in on the player. You'll learn how to plan for each one's approach. Because this was an indie game, and it's difficult to catch everything, there were a couple of bugs that I encountered. Some are minor, like pop-in textures, but sometimes the game would freeze or crash. Fortunately, this game has been patched a few times since its initial release, so load times are smooth and nothing glitched out too badly in my revisit. Although I did notice the lack of Golden Freddy this time around. They really toned down his RNG in the most recent updates. There are a lot of references to lore and secrets to be found in this game. Some are designed to screw with the player, like the game-ending 1987 Easter egg. In Custom Night mode, where players can adjust the AI's difficulty from 1 to 20, some players were certain that there was an alternate ending to be found by inputting the difficulty numbers to read as 1987. Now, this wasn't because of the weird obsession with the release date of Beverly Hills Cop 2, but because of the line of dialogue referencing the bite of 87 that you hear in a voicemail. Unfortunately, putting these numbers in results in the game crashing, with a particularly horrifying Golden Freddy getting a little too up close and personal. I found it satisfying the first time around to learn how to counter Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, and Freddy. There's escalating dread, but it still feels like you have some amount of control when you slam the door and save yourself from getting killed. And because each playthrough is different and the levels are short, it doesn't get too stale. All positive things. You know, maybe recompleting this game was a great idea. But that does lead me to my biggest problem with Five Nights at Freddy's. Something that bothered me then and still bothers me now is the RNG that comes into play at higher levels of difficulty. I could be having a really solid run, conserving energy like I'm a solar panel fanatic, clicking between cameras without mistakes, and then getting hit with a Foxy charge that takes up 20% of my battery power. I get that it's part of the game, that part of the tension is dealing with curveballs that are thrown at you, but it absolutely sucks for trying to get through this game's most difficult mode. Once you make it through the first 5 nights and the bonus 6th night, you'll gain access to Custom Night, where you can adjust the AI of the animatronics to different levels and see what the game throws at you. Putting all of the enemies on the highest level, 2020 mode, aka 420, is an exercise in mind-melting, nerve-shredding chaos. If you all thought I looked exhausted and tired after completing Mega Man 11, you should have seen how I looked getting through 2020 mode in my first Completionist video. I honest to God almost cried with relief after hearing the chimes that proved I had made it through this mode intact and got that 3rd star the first time I completed this f***ing game. It's exhausting to try it again and again and again and again and again and again. Look, I'm not trying to be harsh here, but having played this game in its many sequels, I just feel stressed and anxious anytime I revisit them. The first game was pretty solid, even though completing it made me grind my teeth to dust from jaw-clenching stress. It was so hard to go back and revisit this game, everyone. Though, here's a little tip to make things a little more bearable. Just replace every jump scare with me saying, "Oh, hi, Mark," and let the good vibes soothe your soul. Oh, hi, Mark. What a story, Mark. Oh, hi, Tommy. Sadly, there isn't much in the way of completion bonuses in Five Nights at Freddy's. Scott Cawthon, the creator, didn't really put any kind of reward in place for people beating 420 mode because he didn't actually think it was possible. There's the intrinsic satisfaction that comes with completing something for its own sake, and then there's nearly destroying your sanity for nothing but a small digital star on the start screen. Not a great feeling, people. Now, you've all heard me complain and moan long enough about how 420 is in this whole episode and how awful it is. But I think it's fair to say that when I originally did this challenge, it was in fact super scary. It took me 68 damn tries to beat this challenge. It was not fun. And I followed Markiplier's strat constantly until I finally did it. That method involved a pretty crazy routine of checking the doors and monitors in a specific way, but at the same time, it also felt like pure RNG. But some time has passed, and people have argued which is the best method for beating this whole damn thing. And at the end of the day, the best method I found was from a YouTuber named Kevin. His method was so much cleaner to do as it involved spamming the monitor constantly to make Freddy move to a certain position, followed by checking the left side to make sure that Bonnie never got inside. Every now and then it was important to change the camera angles to check and see if Foxy was still in the cove. While a lot more complicated to do, in the end, this method was so much easier. I was practicing this and I didn't even think to record myself or have someone record me during the process, and I just did it. And it feels weird to try and recreate this random narrative of me reacting it all out. Regardless of this ease, I still want to stress that this game and the lore and the difficult modes attached to it are not designed for everyone. And when I mean everyone, I mean it's not designed for anyone. It is designed for the true masochists out there. And after doing this twice, I am good. This franchise still makes my skin crawl every time I hear the name or even look at an animatronic. When I recompleted Five Nights at Freddy's, there were 23 jump scare related deaths, 5 scary animal robots determined to eat my face, 2 paychecks earned with a total of $120.50. Yay. 7 nights survived, including the insanely difficult 420 custom night, and 1 recent visit to Chuck E. Cheese to determine if they still exist. And it does! Did you guys know they modernized the rat? He looks so nice and friendly now. Five Nights at Freddy's never would have existed if this rad little dude had been the inspiration. Attempting to complete this game will surely eat away at your soul. And while Five Nights at Freddy's has turned into a huge internet powerhouse of a franchise, I am so glad that I can put it away again and never have to look back at it. However, I still gotta worry about recompleting Five Nights at Freddy's 2. You ever thought to yourself, man, I love to play a game that's made entirely of GIFs? Five Nights at Freddy's. But here's the thing, I actually respect Scott Cawthon a lot, and I think the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's is very fascinating. I just think the, what's it going on, 175th sequel? I don't know how many there are, how many books. The second game came out months after the first game. The third one came out a few months later. The fourth one came out a few months later after that. I don't know if it's my age, I don't know if it's my patience, I don't know if it's the idea of New Game Plus and what I'm already doing every single week, but at the end of the day, recompleting any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games is not worth it. I think I was a part of a problem. I think I was a part of a YouTube hype machine that created this new narrative of scary games online, and I contributed in a way that I only succeeded from. Five Nights at Freddy's is an okay game, and it doesn't go beyond that. I think the lore is fascinating, and I think the YouTubers and the community behind the lore is fascinating. I think everything else is just okay. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my new completionist rating of play it.
Play it!
That's all the time we have today, guys, so please, as always, let me know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. If you like the show, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and let me know why you hate me now that I gave FNAF a lower rating than before. Guys, here's a video you may not have seen. It's on the screen. Click or tap it, hit the subscribe button, click or tap that, hit the bell, and hit all notifications on, or else you ain't gonna see shit going forward. I'm the Completionist, and if you like what I do, I appreciate it. If not, get spooked, bitches. Happy Halloween!